Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Welcome to yet another amazing live stream. You know, that stream that you've been waiting for. Today, we're going to be hosting a person you probably know. Most of you don't know. But before we get our guest on board, like the stream as you're coming in and let me know where you are joining us from. Hi, Andy, Jay, Africa, Jordan, Daniel, Janice, yeah, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining the stream. Hit that like button as you're coming in and let me know where you are joining us from. I see a lot of people in the stream already. Hi, Derek. Hi, Bernardine. How are you doing? Hit the like button as you're coming in. And let's give it 20 seconds before we get our guest on board. Share out the stream on your socials so we can have more people participating. Hi, from Houston, Texas. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining the stream. All right, without wasting so much time, let me add our guests onto the screen. Hello.
Hello, Tigers. How are you doing?
I'm good. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's been hot in Houston, very very hot. It's like 96 degrees Fahrenheit. What is that in Celsius?
I'll have to check. I don't know, but that's
Yeah,
probably close to 30 or something. That's quite hot.
yeah. Then we have the heat index over here, which is like the humidity. Is like, well, at least in Houston, the humidity is kind of like Mombasa, like the humidity. You know how it is in Mombasa?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like that here in Houston. You have a lot of humidity, so it makes it hotter than what it normally is. So I don't be going out there. I'd be chilling.
I guess you're used to that compared to
I'm never used to it. I'm used to my AC.
oh, that makes it hard to breathe when the humidity is quite high.
Right, right.
Oh, that is 32 degrees Celsius converted. That's very, 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 very hot.
Yeah, it is.
All right. It's a pleasure having you on the platform today. I've been looking forward to this. So maybe we can start by introducing yourself for those who probably don't know you.
Okay, well, for people that don't know me, I mean, shoot, I think I've been on the Tigers channel. I think last time when you did an interview with me in Nairobi at the Kempinski.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've been on my channel many times, but my name is Phillip Scott. Host the African Diaspora News channel. We also have our entertainment channel, the Phillip Scott Show. We have a podcast, the Phillip Scott Audio Experience. We have our website, africandiasporanews.org. So we're doing a whole lot of things. We also got a food review channel that we're about to start working on as well, intercontinental food review. So we're doing a lot of things out there, just trying to spread our knowledge as much as possible.
Maybe you can briefly tell us what the Africa Diaspora channel is about and why you started it.
Okay, well, the African Diaspora News channel actually been in operation maybe about actually a year, as in June 1, because we used to be the advice show from 2012 up until last year. And then we switched over based off of the direction that we wanted to go, because we wanted to be more of a international platform, because before we was mostly just US based on anything that we was doing. So when we went to the continent in 2018, we started paying attention that, wait a minute, it's a much bigger world than just the United States, and Black people all over the world. So we decided to go with the name change from The Advice Show to African Diaspora News Channel, and that's been our focus. And it's been a great decision so far for us going that direction.
Well, you've mentioned a number of platforms that you have. You've mentioned your entertainment show, you have the food show. How do you manage? How do you manage all this?
How do I manage? I don't sleep much. I work very hard, and I have a goal in mind and what I'm trying to do. So I'm a person, I just like to go, 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 go. I don't slow down. And I feel like if I'm sitting down, I'm not doing anything, then my mind's gonna be running like many times a minute. Like, why are you sitting down? Like, you could be doing this. At least if I'm gonna sit down, at least I want the work done. Or hopefully we can get to the point that other people can do the work for me a lot more. That way I can sit down. But until we get to that point, we have a little bit few more people do the work for me. I'm gonna have to keep doing it just for a little while longer.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Oh,
Sometimes
it's a lot of work.
I
Yeah.
can try to imagine how you do it, how you manage all these streams, all these channels. It's a lot of work. You post like 4 or 5 videos a day. I mean, like, wow. Sometimes I even wonder whether you really sleep. So, YouTube is the main thing you do, the only thing you do.
No, I do a whole lot of things. It's one of the things I do. I'm gonna say that much. It's just one.
Mm-hmm. Well, you must be, you must be very hardworking.
Well,
Oh,
it's really a system. If you have a system in place, you can do a lot of things, right? If you don't have the right systems, then you can't. For instance, I can. This is the way my studio is set up. I can cut my lights on, my camera. I could literally go live if I wanted to within 10 minutes because of the system. So I have like, I think I've done six videos I posted today. And I filmed 4 entertainment news. So that was a total, 10 videos? Because I have a system, I can do that. If I didn't have the systems I have in place, I couldn't do that. So yes, it is work. It is work, but it is much easier now that we have additional help. Sometimes definitely when people help, you've helped us, with content and things like that. So when people come in and help, it makes it easier on me at times. So it's great. But if someone can't do it, then of course, like I said, I do it, but I just have systems put in place where we can produce a lot of content.
okay, that's awesome. You'll teach me about it. So
Oh
to
yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, I also need it to be as easy because sometimes even editing one video is a lot of work and it's quite a challenge for when you don't have resources to have like people, helping you out.
Well,
Um,
it took me a long time, Tigers. It took me. I'm gonna say I just actually got people helping me out. Maybe 6 months ago. I'll say maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Prior to that, I was doing everything on my own. So that's all new for me to have anybody help me. It's new.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the state of Africa diaspora and the relationship between continental Africans and Africa diaspora. I see a lot of people, a lot of questions. Well, keep those questions coming. I will definitely ask him. But first, I would really love you to briefly tell us how is it like being African in the diaspora, especially during these times. How's life? How is it there?
Well, as you know, you're paying attention to everything that's going on in America right now with the George Floyd, all that, protests going on, and people, want change. They were sick of anti-Black racism. They're sick of discrimination. We're sick of watching a racial caste system against Black people in America. And we need transformative change and a fundamental change in America. Racism, white supremacy for sure needs to end. And, we need to be the generation to end it. The problem with us is we have been going along to assist white supremacy in continuing. And now we're starting to realize that, wait a minute, we can't vote our way out of our problems. We can't look for people to help us. We can't cry, we can't beg because nobody cares about the pain and suffering of Black people. So now we're starting to say, listen, this needs to end. We're sick of the anti-Black racism from whoever it's coming from. It's not going to be tolerated. And, we have started doing things here. For instance, one of the first things we started to do, we talk about the Chinese all the time, is that with the coronavirus and just the different things that people have seen here in Black America, we have pulled our funds back from the, Chinese or just different people in the Asian community. And they're feeling that and they're not liking that. And so you're having a lot of people in different groups wanting to come even to the protest to try to say like, oh, I'm on you guys' side. And it's and say, nah, Mr. Lee, You didn't kick butt long enough. We need to keep our money in our back pocket. So a lot of groups don't like that we're kind of saying, okay, we're gonna be more about black people now, and kind of we need to figure out what the hell is going on with us. So until then, you guys kind of do you and depend on the Mzungus, to support your businesses and kind of let us do us.
Do you think anything is really going to change?
Do I think things are going to change? I believe it can change, but it's predicated on us. It's not predicated on what the Mzungu is going to do or other groups. It's on us. If we want change, we will change it. I believe this energy is right. I believe this energy is spreading all over the world, and I believe this is a time to change it. This is a time also to say, hey, we need our $17 trillion of reparations from the government. And if they say, well, where do we get the money from? The U.S. Federal Reserve prints money. You could print our $17 trillion. You already have our bank account information from the stimulus package, and you can deposit my reparations in my bank account, and that's that. So we need to push for reparations for sure, and we shouldn't let off. We shouldn't have no lip service from nobody. We shouldn't look for a symbolism or symbolic anything. We should, definitely continue until we get to the goal that we need here in America.
Talking about reparations and all that, do you think if the protest was all about reparations, would all these other people who've joined the protest, do you think they would have really joined it?
Well, let me tell you about that. You're talking about other groups. Other groups are joining the protest for a lot of reasons. Some people that go in some of these protests are not doing it for Black people. Some of them are doing it, they have their own agenda, why they want to do it. You have certain groups come out, they want to destroy things, or burn things, but they're too afraid to do it on their own. So they wait till Black people come out for a legitimate reason, which would be the justice for people like George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, the other sister in Canada, Regis Korchinski, Paquette, people like that. They want to come in when we do something. Every time we do something as Black people, everybody want to show up in it at the end of the day. And listen, it's okay for you to show up if you're about protecting Black people and ending anti-Black racism. But sometimes people aren't there for those reasons. So I'm not focused so much on them and what they got going on. I'm also focused on what we have going on, because I don't know who's there for the right reason, who's not. At the end of the day, I would say that Black people need to start telling these people, okay, you care about Black people? Well, let's start pushing about these reparations, because, it's easy to talk about police reform, but, let's get the reparations talk going on, because we got to end anti-Black economic racism too.
Okay. Talking about that, do you believe or do you think that people are actually protesting? A lot of protesters, do they really know what they are protesting and what they are actually pushing for? Or is it, there's been assumptions, some people believe that, the turnout is as big because, the lockdown and people just, the coronavirus stuff and all that. Do you believe actually people have, the people leading the protest and all that, is there a clear guideline on their demands? Like this is what to demand?
Well, as of right now, yes, you're right. It's kind of like a perfect storm. What happened with these protests? Okay, yes, you had the lockdowns of coronavirus, and you have 42 million people that at least file unemployment and is getting benefits right now. So you have that. Then you have the situation that happened to George Floyd, which the whole world seen that. I mean, that's the most disgusting, evil, sinister thing ever, right? So you had that happen to George Floyd. So I think it all came at one time. And then, you also had, the things Trump is doing. He really wants to be authoritarian. He wants to be Kim Jong-un or Xi Jinping or whatever he wants to be, and think that's going to fly. So that pissed more people off out there. So it's a combination of a whole lot of things. And you have to understand, people have time to protest now because people ain't not going to work because they're unemployed. So I don't know everybody's reason to be out there. But it's very interesting to see all these people saying Black Lives Matter, and they're really going overboard with it in some instances, more than what I would think. All these corporations in America talking about they support Black lives, they support this, they support that. I'm like, well, y'all was that maybe some months ago? but it's just interesting. All this is like happening fast. So, I'm paying attention to it like you paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm. And so, based on all this happening, do you believe that this would actually be, um, that thing that happens and it actually makes you feel like, okay, this is it now. I need to make the move, like moving to the continent?
Well, as of right now, I'm definitely working on my plans. But as of right now, nobody can go to the continent. That's kind of what it is right now. So we gotta deal with the system we in, at least for today. I know eventually everything's gonna open back up. I just read about you guys' country that your president has extended y'all lockdown. I think a lockdown for 30 more days. Am I correct?
It's not a lockdown as such, but it is a restriction of movement in and outside Nairobi and Mombasa, because that's where most cases are. So people cannot, if you're in Nairobi, you can't move out of Nairobi, and if you're in Mombasa, you can move outside Mombasa. And also, but he extended the time. Previously, the curfew was starting at 7 p.m. in the evening. Now it starts at 9. So, but yeah, there's restriction of movement. If you're in Nairobi, that's it. You're just within Nairobi.
Okay, so basically you still, so basically you actually more stricter. What I still that's called lockdown. You can't move outside the city. That's you locked down.
Well, yeah, but people work has resumed. People, unlike previously, now people have started going back to work.
Okay, people can go back to work. Okay. Well, like I said, at least here where I'm in Texas, May the 1st, they kind of just open everything back up. So everybody's back to normal here with some restrictions. Like I think restaurants now can have 50% of their capacity, and I think every business opening now. So I don't know. These people here in America, they went up to the state house with guns, talking about they need a haircut. So how they are here.
Okay. Brandon, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, do we stay in America and fight the white man, or do we follow Marcus Garvey's original plan of back to Africa?
I believe personally, not everybody's. Well, let me back up. Based off of my channel and how people respond, there are some people that's going to go to the continent, that's for sure, and do very well. And then there are some that just don't need to be on the continent at all because they don't have the right mindset for it. They love America. They'll go down the ship, and that's fine too. Because even Marcus Garvey said he wasn't taking everybody to Africa. He said that himself. So, and that should be the same sentiment now. You don't want some of the mindset that comes from Babylon on the continent. I wouldn't want them to ruin, some things that's going on over there. So for the people that do have the right mindset and attitude and want to build, well, yeah, that's a good place for
them. Okay. You've talked about you have your plan. I hope I hope you're going to make your first investment in Kenya.
Well, like I said, we have to see, because a lot of things is on the table with that. I mean, it's so many different things I look at, because we look at what freedoms you have, like say press freedom. We look at that. We look at infrastructure, internet. We look at a whole lot of things, before you make business decisions. Of course, you got to keep moving around. I know Nairobi is a good place for business. I mean, I've seen that, but it's just other places, we want to look. And like I said, not to say we can't be in multiple cities, but we definitely want to keep looking around and making sure that we, what would be good for us.
How are the Black community doing economically in Houston?
Houston is actually a good city for Black people. A lot of Black people are very successful here. If you can't make it in Houston, then you're just not trying. I'll just be honest with you. It's so much opportunity here. Many people move here from all over the country, and even people come here illegally and they do good for themselves. So I believe Houston is definitely a great opportunity for Black people. The mayor's Black. The population of Houston has, I think, 25% of the population is Black in Houston. I think the other 25% or so is Hispanic. I mean, it's like I say, it's a good opportunity you have here.
Mm-hmm. So if these are very interesting questions. So if you make the move to the continent, what would be your first investment?
Well, I would like to get set up at least what I'm doing now. And so you have like a division of what we're doing here, there. After you get all that set up, I definitely would like to look more into infrastructure because infrastructure is something that the continent needs, and it's something that you could really help to grow and build the continent as infrastructure. So my mindset is, roads. Like for instance, there's some places in the continent where they have dirt roads, and then it rains, and then cars get stuck and things like that. So what if you lay down roads or doing guardrails? For instance, when I was in Ethiopia, going from Mekelle to Axum, along that mountain. I don't know if you drove over there, but on that mountain, going up the mountain, you have no guardrails. So if your car gets off, you tumbling down, that's the end of you. It's no more of you, right? So guardrails would be good. I mean, it's something because that's what the Chinese is doing. The Chinese are doing a lot of infrastructure projects. So they're building, parts of airports. Anything that's considered infrastructure, that's what the Chinese are doing. So I believe that we should get involved with that as well. Building homes, like subdivisions. I know a brother who built homes. So it's people like that we need to connect with to help build over there.
Well, talking about that, what is actually the role of the Africa diaspora in the development of Africa? Do you believe that the diaspora has a role to play in the development of Africa? Before you answer that, kindly let's get the likes up. Hit that like button as you're coming in. If you have questions for our guest, go ahead and ask all those questions that you've been wanting to ask Phil. I mean, this is the opportunity. Hit the like button and support the stream. Uh, yeah, you can take on the question now. Do you believe the diaspora has a role to play?
I believe we do have a role to play. I really do. I believe some of the skills that we have learned in the West, like capitalism, we definitely learned how to deal, with the Mzungu for sure. So, the Chinese are trying to be the Mzungu part two. So he's playing the game just a little differently. I believe that some of the energy that we have here, it needs to be on the continent. And some people already have that energy, but it needs to be spread all over the continent. And then, I believe about the resources, we need to focus more on that. I think we can definitely assist in a lot of ways in the continent, but we just have to work together to do so. But some of the problems we may have with that, like from what I've seen, the people will say, "You guys, we love you guys to come back home, X, Y, Z." But the politicians, that's different, because that's what some people in the diaspora will say, well, they say come back home, but what's the pathway to citizenship? And that has nothing to do with the people. That's the politicians on that. So that has to be dealt with as well. It's the leaders. The leaders is really, has, caused a lot of issues and problems on the continent for the people that's there.
How can we help? How do you think, as the continental Africans, should help?
Well, I think one of the best ways, for instance, it's like if I told someone to come home, or if I told my child to come home, well, that means they're coming home to stay. They're not coming home to visit. See, if you come home, the quote unquote come home, and you're getting a visa, well, then you're no different than the Mzungu. You just tourist. And but when you say come home, that means you have a pathway for you to come home. For instance, if you say, okay, if you have like I think Sierra Leone does it like that, where you have so much DNA, you can get a citizenship. At least Sierra Leone is trying, right? Well, why is it that all nations isn't trying like that? All saying, hey, whatever you want to come. Now, listen, I'm not saying just don't check people out. I'm not saying you want to let in people who have this long criminal records, has been murdering and pillaging. No, I'm talking about the average black person isn't doing that anyway. But if they want to come, and I would say have a pathway to citizenship like this, you can get a residency, right? You can get a residency prior to them checking you get a residency. Within 5 years, right? They should transfer you from a resident to a citizen. I think that should be good. Within the 5 years, you can get acclimated into the culture. You could learn. You could see what's going on, and that way you have your dual passports. Because I support Black Americans having two passports, like the Jewish people, right? So Kenya is one of the countries that you can have dual citizenship. So if a person comes to Kenya, why isn't that a Black American cannot get at least a residency or a citizenship in Kenya? But you got all these Chinese coming in. You understand what I'm saying? These Chinese come into the country illegally. Black Americans, what we're saying is we want to come in legally. We want to have a citizenship, residency, something. We don't want to be like the Chinese. Sure, we can be like the Chinese and take advantage of your immigration because you guys don't check like you're supposed to. But we don't want to do it that way. We want to do it the right way. So it's going to take the government to say, hey, come home, and this is how you're going to come home, by giving you, stake in the game.
Talking about that question, given someone who was actually advocating for automatic citizenship when the diaspora is coming back home. So our question is, if you are given citizenship for a country and you are told to do away with the other citizenship, and you get the rights and privileges of the country that you've gotten your citizenship, would you accept?
Oh, you're saying basically reject our American citizenship?
Yeah, and then you'll just have the rights. For instance, let's say you're given the rights and everything. If you're going for leadership, you can still be a politician, a leader. Like, you have basically the rights like the citizen of the country. Would you accept?
I would not give up my American citizenship, and I don't advocate no Black American to give up their American citizenship. I believe you should have dual citizenship like the Jewish people have, because Black Americans, we built the country. We have a lot of stake here, and certain things, we have family here. And you know well as I know, it's hard to get a visa just to come visit in America. You know that. There's certain things right now the continent don't have that we can come over here, get, and then bring it right back. Certain resources. So I know I wouldn't advocate for that. I would never tell a Black person to give up their American citizenship. I would say have dual citizenship.
Question. Pan-Africanism strikes back. Asks, how do we deal with the Mzungu or something? Yeah, how exactly are we dealing with Mzungu feel?
I'm not understanding the question. What you mean, how we deal with them? What do you mean?
I'm not very sure. Unless Pan-Africanism strikes back, you can rephrase your question, because I also don't get it. How do we do this when you focused on begging America?
Who's begging America?
I think Pan-Africanism strikes back. You can ask the question like complete, so I can get exactly what you're asking about. Talking about the Chinese and all that, how do you feel? You've mentioned about the Chinese presence in Africa. How do you feel about it? What's your take on it?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure most people know my position on it. I think they need to carry themselves back to Wuhan. I don't believe they belong in the African continent doing the things they're doing. And if they're doing the right thing, I wouldn't be saying anything. But they're doing a lot of dirt. They're doing a lot of stealing. They're trying to de facto colonize. From what I'm hearing from people that's fighting about Zambia, that the Chinese just about got their foot way deep into Zambia, and the leader, the president of Zambia, he's just basically a stooge for the Chinese Communist Party. And it's sad to see that when a mayor checks the Chinese, and then the other leaders get on him and make him apologize to the Chinese. Like, what kind of crap is that? But look at how they were treating Africans in Guangzhou. So I don't believe the Chinese need to be there. I mean, I believe the Chinese need to keep themselves in Wuhan where they belong. If they want to make a business deal, that's fine, but they don't need to be bringing their people illegally to the continent. Do your business and carry yourself back home. That's how I feel about that.
Okay. The question earlier on was, Phil said, we know how to deal with the white man. How are we dealing with them? Are we benefiting from our methods?
Okay, I need to read. I need to look at that and say we all know how to deal with the white man. How are we dealing with them? We benefiting from our methods. I'm still not understanding. Like, I'm not understanding fully what he's trying to say to me. What dealing with the white man in what way? Is multiple ways to deal with the white man. I mean, everybody's level of dealing with the Mzungu is different too, because I have different levels of dealing with him maybe than most, right? So how I deal with him at least is I socially distance much as possible. I deal with him in regards to business or anything that I need. Outside of that, I just don't deal with him. I just socially distance all the time. And that's just the way I deal with it. But some people may deal with them in more of another way. I don't know. But as a whole, I think we need to focus more on what we're doing and fixing us instead of more so worrying about them at this point.
Okay. And you mentioned about your feeling about the Chinese. What about the white people in Africa?
They need to not be there. I don't think it's right. And I saw the video you put up earlier for a Mzungu to call himself a Kenyan. That is immoral and ungodly to me, for them to have colonized, who raped, who pillaged, who did all the things they did in the continent of Africa, and then want to call themselves a Kenyan or a South African. No, I think it's completely wrong. I think you need to go back where they come from. My thing is, why don't these people, if they think they're so much better than Africans, why you want to be there? I mean, seriously, if I feel I'm better than somebody, I don't want to be around you. I don't even want to talk to you if I feel like I'm better than you. So you want to leave your people in Europe, go to a place that you feel that you're better than the people. And I saw your story where you said they didn't want Kenyans in their hotel or whatever. Why would you put up a hotel in a black land? Wouldn't you be better to put that in Europe and then all your people go there? It doesn't make sense. It don't. See, I couldn't be an African president because I wouldn't put up with them not 2 seconds, because racism would be a crime on the books with me. Oh, you racist? Especially a foreigner, you got to go. You can't come in here long.
All right. Hit the like button as you're coming in. I know you've been to Kenya and Ethiopia so far.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very interesting question. How was it? Like, how was your experience there? And which is your favorite city?
Well, let me see. My first experience, of course, was very interesting. I enjoyed it. You know, like I said, I've never been welcome, like that. Like I was, like I said, in Ethiopia, the first time I went to Mekelle, awesome people there. They were just very open. Then I went to Addis Ababa, talked to the sister Malukan. She really talked to me about a lot of things about, being in Africa and like, what am I doing actually in America? And, even off camera, she had a long talk with me, and it made me really think. You ever had someone talk to you, and then after the fact, you kind of sit for a few hours and you sitting there just thinking about what they're telling you? Is that kind of like that conversation that I had with her? It made me really think. Kenya was good too. Kenya was different because we came with 30 people. The first time I went, we didn't come with that many people. So that was different too. But Nairobi was nice. It really was. Like I said, the hotel we stayed at was very nice. Because the food is definitely different. I know I was mistaken for a few times of being a Kenyan until I opened my mouth. In Ethiopia, you're not mistaken not to be one of them, of course. You know that. But everything was, like I said, it was nice. Mombasa reminded me of Houston weather. The beaches are beautiful. Like I said, I wouldn't, no Karens out there bothering you or calling 911 on you. You don't have those problems. So far, the two countries I've been to, it's been very, very nice. And like coronavirus messed up, at least I guess my South Africa trip. I was supposed to go to South Africa as well. We have a lot of subscribers in South Africa, so I really wanted to go down there. But we don't know, how all that's going to work out. I don't know if it's going to get postponed to next year. We just still seeing, because a lot of the countries are still closed down.
Okay. Phil, we appreciate your grind and support of adults in its early stages. What is your position or stance of adults currently?
What is my position on what?
The question is on the screen. Your position of adults currently.
It's just- well, right now, I would say Black Americans just need to focus on, you know, the fight at hand right now is getting free and fighting against anti-Black racism in all forms that it is out there, because this is a prime time for us to do so while the water is troubled, like the Bible say. We need to get out there. We need to fight. We need to keep calling out anti-Black racism and whoever it's coming from. Even that's coming from our own, like a Candace, Kuhn Owens, or Brandon Tatum, or those types. Or what's that other lady from Cameroon that they trying to prop up now? That Nestre, whatever name, Umunga, whatever name is, that they trying to prop up now on Fox News, this Cameroonian immigrant that's come in to the country at talking down on Black Americans. But we have to fight, I fight right now. And it's like I said, it's a good time to do it. It's not just the police, but it's every area in our lives we got to fight for and make sure we just treat it equally, because we have to keep the pressure on right now.
Do you believe that as Black people we are so divided? That is why it's hard for us to push for a common cause?
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Division is really the big issue with the problem, because I was watching your show one day and you had asked a question about people from the diaspora coming and getting land, and you were mentioning that. And you had a sister on here. I don't know who the sister name is. She was a continental African. And she said, well, I don't know about that, because they got Africans here that's been here a long time. They can't even get no land. But then if you let them come in, and then my mindset is like this. Well, why you ain't say that about them Chinese? Why you ain't say that about these white people that's coming into the continent, getting land, doing all kind of dirt? They fooling with African children, being pedophiles. They doing all kind of dirt in the African continent. And the time you speak up about a problem is when it's someone in the diaspora coming in, because you say, oh, well, they may have more money to buy land. Okay, but anyone from the diaspora, if they create a business, they're not going to be beating you like the Chinese is beating you, okay? Or making you stay at a job and can't go home like they're doing in Zambia, while the Chinese supervisors go home every day talking about they don't want you to bring back the coronavirus. You know what I'm saying? The diaspora is not going to treat our people like that. And that's self-hate. We got self-hate right here in America. You may say, I talked about on Instagram today about supporting a company, Black-owned company that makes laundry detergent. And I had one comment that say, well, they may be Black-owned, but we don't know if they think Black. And I'm like, really? I said, I looked on their page, they got Black everything. I was saying, you don't tell that to whites, Asians, Arabs, Indians, etc. They think Black. You give them your money, but anytime it's related to a Black person, you got to scrutinize them. You got to talk about their prices is too high. You tell them, let's go bank at the Black bank. Oh, well, I don't know about it. It's always a problem when it's Black people, and we're the only group that's like that. Like the moment we stop being that way, that will be the moment of our liberation overnight, literally.
Do you believe this is because of miseducation?
I believe
Conditioning, like, is it?
Yes. It's definitely what the problem is. It's like what Malcolm X taught. We have allowed the white supremacists to teach us, and the white supremacist is going to teach you division. He don't want. Listen, the one thing J. Edgar Hoover said this. He was the head of the FBI in the time period of civil rights movement. He said the greatest threat is Black unity. He said that's a national security threat. Okay, so if he felt that it's a national security threat of Black unity, that has not changed. They don't want the Black American connecting with the African. Even they have a paper called Memorandum 46. If you ever read it, came around the time of the Carter presidency. They say that we got to keep these Black radicals away from the African continent, because they're going to mess up basically what they had going on, because they're going to basically get that militant spirit in the Africans, and they did not want that. So of course they like to see us divide on, well, you're Nigerian, or just even on a continent. Oh, you're Nigerian, you're Kenyan. Oh, well, I'm a Ghanaian and you're, from the Congo. We're not the same people. Like I can't get along with them. And I'm like, but in the world, y'all black though. Like, what do you mean you can't get along? Just like what Julius Malema said, they need one Africa, one leader, one government, one military. Do you realize how powerful the continent would be if you made it to one country? All the resources, all those people to come together as one. Just like China got over 1 billion people and they have one leader, one military. The United States have one leader, one military. I mean, why can't the continent do it? It's because of all this division. Well, I'm not you, you're not me, you're not I don't like ethnicity. I must not say tribe. You don't speak the language I speak, but at the end of the day, in this world, everything is based off of race right now, right? So everybody look at you as black. So why can't black people come together?
Talking about one Africa, one do you believe that is something that should be worked on, keeping in mind the type of leaders that we have right now?
Well, why can't it work? Because I saw a comment down there saying it's too. Why can't it work? I don't understand that. China has over 1 billion people. They have 1 billion people and they have one president. You mean to tell me all of those people don't get along? I mean, all of them get along? No, ain't no way all those people over there get along. But they understand that we're all Chinese. That's what they understand. And we all worry about our country. Now you go to the continent of Africa. Okay, you may be Ghanaian, you may be Nigerian, you may be Ethiopian, you may be Eritrean. But at the end of the day, all of you are black. So why everybody got to divide? Why can't it be one president, right? But like 54 governors. Let's say like you have 54 governors, right? So Nigeria still be Nigeria, but it'd be like a state. And they have the governor instead of the president, it'd be like a governor, right? And then you still have your African Union. Let the African Union be the place where you guys do your government at the African Union. All the governors, go there. They put in the input. Everybody vote on different things, but you have one president.
What about the model like the European Union?
The European Union?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. The European Union have many countries. I get it. But at the end of the day, they come underneath one block. At the end of the day, the European Union. So they all look out for those countries under one block. But I just believe that it will be better for the continent to have one leader, because if you have one leader, then you can't have everybody doing their own thing. You can't have China or whatever coming in and saying, okay, I'm gonna go to this little country here and I'm gonna get a foothold here. I'm gonna go over there and do this. No, it's like you have to come to the one leader. And that's like, for instance, America, right? America is not 50 countries. It's one country, but we have 50 states, but with governors. You know what I'm saying? So I just believe that it would be better that way. I just believe it would. You would have more control. You would have such a strong military that way too, because the problem in the continent is your military isn't as strong as these other nations, right? But if you put everybody together in the wealth of Africa into one and invest into your military, you guys have uranium there, literally in the ground. You guys could develop your own nuclear weapons with your own natural materials that's there. As long as you guys stay apart, you guys can't develop like you should because everybody's separated. With unity, you become one and things will get better.
Do you think Africa is really ready for that? Keeping in mind the type of, I don't know which African president that we can say now, this is the person that would be the president of Africa, if at all it came as one, if all like we did away with the borders and all that. Are we really ready for that?
Well, I will say this. The youth of Africa can do it. The old people, it's no different than here in America, the old Congressional Black Caucus. All these leaders have screwed us too. Because we got the same leaders you're talking about, we have them right here in America. They do all kind of things. They're just as corrupt. They take, but see, the corruption that they take is they sell us out as a community to get money for and opportunity for themselves, right? From the white supremacists. So in your countries, they sell out the people, for, let's say, for the West or now for the East or whatever. But my thing is, I believe it's going to take the young people like yourself and younger to say, you know what, we want a unified Africa. I just believe that the older people, you just need to just kind of cast that away, because they already in their mindset. They're like the people here. We talk about the civil rights generation that sold us out, right? I'm not saying every person in the civil rights generation is bad, but the majority of them in leadership sold us out. So now what we're saying, and why you're seeing all the protests and people standing up and saying, now this is the generation say, no, this is not going to work. We won't change. And I believe on the African continent, it's going to take the young people to want change, because it's the young people saying, come back home. It's not a bunch of the older people saying, come back home. It's the younger people. So that's where the change is going to start.
But you realize that Africa, the leaders we have are just puppets of the West. I mean, during the time that we were gaining independence, there's some, I think, contracts or so agreements that our leaders signed that tie us and that make it hard for us, African nations, to be able to do some things. Look at the like of these countries in the West African countries with the Frank CFA and all that. So where if a young person takes position into leadership, in most cases, we've seen that upright leaders end up getting assassinated by the Western powers. So how can we where do we start? Do we start by building a military? Where do we start to ensure that if we have these upright leaders, when we have them, we can actually be able to progress without assassinations and being interference with the Western powers?
Okay, so the first thing you need to do is educate your public, right? Because a lot of the public don't know about those agreements. They don't even know who signed what. And that's what caused a lot of problems too. But now we live in the information age, right? So you go on, most young people, we talking about the young people, we ain't talking about the older ones. Most young people's on the internet. So if you're a younger person, take over and say, listen, they made this agreement with this country, and they're saying we got to give them, this amount of money. We got to do this. Like, what is this? And let the people know. A lot of times the people don't even know. That's what a lot of it is on the continent. So you let people know what's going on. The people, let the anger come from the people. And you talking about assassinating leaders. They're not really assassinating leaders like they used to. OK, especially with the time of the internet. So many people get found out so quick. Right. And the military aspect, you do need a military. America spends the majority of their budget on military. If you can't defend yourself, you looking to get taken over, right? Because if I had to be a president, let's say, okay, I'm the president of the new Africa, right? 54 nations. I will require every young man to have at least 1 4-year term of service in the military, because if we don't have enough people to defend the continent, then we're going to get ran over. You understand? I would, get the aircraft carriers. I would get the fighter jets. I would get the submarines. I would get everything I could to build it up so we could defend our country. Not to say I want to start wars with people, no, but I just don't want us to become colonized again. You understand what I'm saying? To defend ourselves. So that's what maybe some of the thinking can come in from the diaspora, right? Because we just have a different mindset coming from the West with, sometimes, yes, in the West is very violent, but we know the nature of you do not protect yourself. So like your Second Amendment rights here in America, if you don't protect yourself, someone's could possibly do you something. You understand?
But you realize right now how they are doing it is not even just assassinations. They're even doing it through sanctions. Look at what happened in Zimbabwe, for instance, when they decided to take back their land. Right now, Zimbabwe is like the economic sanctions and all that. Now they make it hard through these sanctions for a country to grow economically.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
and let me tell you why that works. It works for 2 reasons. If you had a united Africa, sanctions couldn't work. You have all the resources of the world. They need the resources. They don't have it. America don't have it. The European nations don't have it. The Chinese don't have it. They need it. So if you tapped into your resources within that continent and you sell those resources at market value, how sanctions are going to work? How's it going to work? It's not going to work. But now here we go back to what we were talking about before. When you become individual nations, sanctions work because who's going to back you up? South Africa's not backing you up. Botswana's not backing you up. Ghana's not backing you up because everybody is separated to themselves. But if they came together as one, then oh no, you can't sanction them. You can't sanction this state. You're sanctioning the whole Africa now. And okay, fine, sanction us, but we won't give you a dime or anything out of this continent. I guarantee you the sanctions will not work. That's how it works because you're separated to yourself.
I believe I trust that because I believe if all African nations came together instead of because at the moment the people trying to beg for sanctions to be lifted from Zimbabwe, they're begging the West. Well, the rest of us Africans could actually build Zimbabwe, and that could actually be one good place for it to be like a model for the rest of Africa. So, and I believe a lot of times what basically a lot of Africans need to do is education. There's a lot of miseducation. The education system that we have wasn't like, I don't believe it was really made for us. The things I know are right now, I didn't learn this in school. I didn't learn. It has actually come through my travel experiences, interacting, and just reading beyond what the books shared. But now, since I'm not at that position yet to actually reform the education system, because I'm not in the Ministry of Education and all that. But the challenge also is I always believe that I believe that there's also our hand in what kind of education that we receive, because it's so hard, it's so ridiculous that we come to learn that someone discovered Mount Kenya. Like, how did a foreigner come to discover Mount Kenya when our ancestors used to go and pray in the mountain and all that? So how do you believe that what do you believe that at this moment we could actually do, or how can we go about teaching people getting the right education to the people? Do you believe that as Africa Diaspora, I believe you know much more on having interacted with these people, you could be knowing much more about, because stuff like slave trade and all that, we learned about it, but just a little bit about it. So I believe, do you believe that actually the Africa Diaspora and continental Africa should build like institutions where they can actually teach people the right education?
Yes, and definitely educate the people also in the rural areas, because what happens is, with lack of education, that's how the Chinese, doing the things they're doing, or also the whites are doing what they're doing. And they make sure to not educate you on purpose, right? Because people, it's been proven, of people that's educated, there are people that's not going to allow people just to take advantage of them. They're going to be more smarter in politics. They'll be smarter in life, business decisions, whatever. When you have education, people who's educated make more money than a person that's not educated. So, I mean, education is the key. And I believe schools should be free to all children. I know in African nations, you got to pay for school. I don't even think that's right for making children, especially in the conditions that a lot of the children are in, or parents are in those nations. There's no reason for them to be paying for school. None. Okay. If education is not priority, then you're going to affect your overall nation, right? America makes, education to a point, a priority. A lot of Asian nations make education a priority. We should focus on education. I believe the diaspora can help with a proper education on the continent and establish different schools to bring them into the knowledge. I mean, because the continental African needs to know the whole story. They need to know their kingdoms and everything before the Mzungu showed up. They need to know everything about that. They need to find out how wonderful they were before they showed up. They need to know about the Arabs and what they done, the Arab slave trade, because the Arab slave trade happened before the Mzungu. Okay. The Mzungu saw how the Arabs was doing it, and they say, "Sure, I can do that, and I can do it a lot better." So you got to talk about the Mzungu. You have to talk about how certain African tribes were complicit in the slave trade. You know, some of them were tricked into it. Some of them was forced into it as well. Not everybody was complicit. You learn about translated slave trade. You learn everything about what happened with that. And then you need to learn about the modern history, how the nations got quote unquote independent, right? You learn all these different things, and just have a well-rounded education. You need to know about economics. You need to know about business. You need to know about warfare. That's always important. Knowing about warfare. You need to know about agriculture. You know, growing. I know you guys are very agricultural there, but agriculture is very important. Trades like plumbing, electrician. People know how to build homes, do roads, bridges, install, lights. I mean, anything to keep nation building. The people need to know how to do that. Because see, Robert Mugabe was smart. If the Chinese would come over to Zimbabwe and do anything, he would say 50% of your employees have to be Zimbabweans. Why would he do that? Because he wanted them to learn how to do those things that they didn't know how to do.
Okay. We all know these problems. Are there any programs trying to combat these issues that people need directions? Drop some jewels on me. I don't know if there are. Are there programs? Do you know any of the programs? I don't know. I can just say the much that we can do at the moment. You're actually doing it through these platforms and reaching out to people, trying to teach them.
I get what they're saying. And I get so. And it's nothing against the person that asked, but I kind of get tired of that question because it goes back to that what's the solution question that happens all the time. Like, listen, if you need people to tell you a solution all the time, I mean, come on, you're smart enough to figure it out to do the opposite of what you're doing, right? If, like, for instance, you don't have a job, but then the solution is go get a job. If you don't have education, well, the solution is get an education. Okay, if a people's not educated, well, why don't you be the person to go create maybe a school or even a home school and start educating people that way? I mean, we make it so hard sometimes for simple things. And it's because, like, in the West, they're so used to the white man doing everything. You're like, oh, the white man created the school. The white man did this. The white man did that. And then we get on our own and say, oh, well, how do we do that? And that's the bad part about being in the West. If you don't learn certain things, unfortunately, but we can do it on our own. We don't need the West. We don't need the East. We can handle it.
How much of African history do you get to learn in school in America?
Zero.
Nothing.
The only thing African we know is that we left Africa as slaves. That's it. We learn nothing about African history, and that's done on purpose, and I understand why.
And how did they tell you left? Did they tell you they kidnapped you, stole you, or we sold you? Like, what did they tell you?
Well, I remember in school they said that we were brought over as slaves, and we was worked the plantations, and we were slaves, and then they jumped up to Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation, in Juneteenth, 1865. We talk about that. Then they go from the Emancipation Proclamation. They skip over Reconstruction. They skip over convict leasing. They skip over sharecropping. They skip over Jim Crow. They skip over all that, and they start talking about Martin Luther King, right? They may talk about Harriet Tubman. They may talk about what's his name? George Washington Carver. There's certain people they want to tell you about, but they will never tell you about the figures who was very who led the slave revolts, like Nat Turner. They won't teach you about him. They won't teach you. If they talk about Martin Luther King, they'll talk about him up to I Have a Dream speech. They won't talk about him 2 years before he died, where he changed, right? They don't ever tell you about Malcolm X. No, that is not coming up in the conversation. They don't tell you about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They don't tell you about Marcus Garvey. They never tell you about Garvey at all. It's so many different people that they don't want to tell you because they want you to basically be in a subservient position and they want to show, they teach you basically white domination and white conquest. So American schools is just an indoctrination into white supremacy, no matter who you are when you go to American schools.
Integration or separation? What do they teach you?
What do you mean? What you say?
Integrating or integrating?
They just basically teach you. They American school is not even meant for you to create businesses. You are meant just to be a worker, right? And then in schools, the majority of your schools is a white teacher, a white female teacher, actually. So now you got a white woman in your face all the time teaching you. I mean, you can count how many times on it depends on what city you live in, of course, but you can count how many times on your hand you get a black teacher in most cities in America. But they teach you, like I said, just basic knowledge. I mean, they don't really teach you a lot. I'm telling you, they really don't. I mean, they used to teach you like auto mechanic, if you wanted to be like an electrician or plumbing or something like that a long time ago. They took all the trades out of school. So now it's like, to me, they don't teach you nothing. I believe public school is a waste of my time. I learned more outside of public school than I did in public school, which is sad, but they don't teach us nothing. They really don't.
So approximately what percentage of African Americans, what percentage do you believe know about Africa and really know now the history about the history of Africa?
Well, we know of Africa, we know of it, but to know the history about it, some of us may do, but most of us really don't, because it's not really something that most of us pursue like that. It's maybe as of recent, I will say that more people have been focused on the continent due to people traveling. You got travel vloggers out there, whether they're on the American side or whether they're on the African side. So, through YouTube and things like that, people are like, wow, I didn't know they had that out there. Wow, I didn't know the beach looked like that. Because see, they taught us that, Africa was, well, first of all, it's called Africa, not African nations. Africa, like it's one nation. That's the way they call it. They led us to believe it was all starving children, full of, with bones and flies flying around them, or AIDS, or warlords like General Butt Naked. And I think what country was General Butt Naked in? Was it Liberia? Whatever country he was in. Cannibals, all these different things that they taught us about the continent of Africa. So we're like, man, I ain't going to Africa. I ain't going over there getting no AIDS, and I'm not going over there with them warlords and Coney 2012, and But then the whole time while they teaching us that about the continent of Africa, they going over there on the beautiful beaches, going to safaris, eating good food. Like every person that I know that went, they got upset because they was upset because they felt like they were played about the continent of Africa all that time. They thought one way, but yet it was another way. And then when you get there, I'm gonna say Kenya had more Mzungus than Ethiopia had. But when you look and see the Mzungus walking around, say, oh my God, that's the first thing I did. Like, I came over here to get away from you. Why are you over here? You get what I'm saying? So it's we've been lied to. And the problem is you fight with so many African Americans about that. They get stuck in their head about America, America, America. And like, go see it over there for yourself. I'm not saying you got to move, but just go see it. And they just, like I said, a lot of them is brainwashed, and I don't worry with it. Yeah, with you. It's getting old already for me with a lot of them.
Okay, and how do you know about the Berlin Conference? Do Africans in the diaspora, African Americans, know about the Berlin Conference?
I don't know the percentage of them that know. I can't really say that, but I mean, I do know about the Berlin Conference and what happened. Once again, the Mzungus are just being who they are. They want to take things from other people they didn't work for. And, like you said, I just saw recently talking about, what's his name? King Leopold. The people now are, because of all these protests with George Floyd, they are going to the statue in Belgium of King Leopold, and they holding the Congo flag, and They trying to get that taken down now. So it's like a Leopold killed 10 million people in the Congo. And so it's just the savage things that we didn't even know. I mean, Leopold killed more people than Adolf Hitler did, but most people don't talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, looks like there's a lot of education, like a lot of education that needs to be done on both sides. Probably, if Africans, continental Africans, and African Americans shared this type of knowledge, maybe that way we could be more united. Because there's this question: why are a lot of people feel that there's some people, not a lot of people, some people feel that Africans who moved to the US, for instance, try to be part of the system. Why do you think is such?
Well, because America handpicks their Negroes. That's why. I noticed that. I noticed that they don't want the black person from the continent that's gonna come over here like PLO Lumumba. They don't want that kind of black person. Or Julius Malemba. They don't want that kind of black person. They want the black person that's gonna come over there and just be a sellout. They love that. The ones that love the ground that the Mzungu walk on. That's the ones they want in America. And that's the ones that come over here and say, you black Americans don't want to work. And I come over here and look, I got more than you because you lazy. See, that's the ones they want over here. They don't want the ones that love their people. They want to, join with their people. And no, they don't want that. So that's what a lot of it is.
Do you know that there are also Africans in the continent who are also enslaved here?
Well, I understand colonization. Colonization is not like what we left, our ancestors left the continent and you guys is over there just having a party. I mean, you guys are colonized. So, I mean, enslavement is part of it. Okay. Colonization to me is slavery because you weren't running your land.
Mm-hmm. Someone says Julius Malema cannot be allowed in America or Europe. You mentioned about farmland and all that, and I know you watched my video earlier on, but you'll be surprised that 50% of the land is actually owned by the settler families, the descendants, and as much as people call their first president, oh, he did this, but he amassed a lot of wealth for him. So it's him and the settler families. So these type of leaders that we had, a number of leaders that we had after colonization, after the colonizers left, they actually ended up, I can say, enslaving or becoming selfish, and they only cared about themselves. And this is also one challenge that a lot of African countries are actually dealing with. And you find at the moment some of their descendants are actually now the ones who are leading, and I believe it's also it's a good thing for the West because they protect them, because if they say now we want you to leave, they will also be in a position where they'll be told, okay, we are leaving, but they feel like the locals, the citizens, will actually demand for the land that they also amassed for themselves. Land is a very valuable resource, and a lot of people don't realize it, because I hear people talking about tribalism in Africa and all that, but it was during colonization, especially I would speak for Kenya, when these colonizers came, they pushed people out of their land and they put tribes up against the other, trying to fight for the land. Well, that's just a point. I didn't know if you know about this. So it's not just it's a complex issue. So whenever we see all these issues, people talking about tribalism and all that, it really goes back in the past. The fact that some people were forced in other people's land and all that. So it's actually what causes a lot of conflict on the continent. So, and at that point, they also, introduced religion, and through religion, it was all about forgiveness.
Yeah, white Jesus. Yeah, I know. The most detrimental thing to the continent was white Jesus. Yes, I understand.
So, do you believe that religion actually plays a role in?
Oh yeah. White Jesus. Listen, let me tell you something. When I went to, when I was in Mombasa and I seen them pictures of white Jesus, I said, "Oh my God, no, 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 no! White Jesus, no! White Jesus didn't even exist. That's first and foremost. Y'all need to take every picture of white Jesus and burn that. You need to burn it to the ground because that stuff that is how they have got in the minds of black people as with white Jesus, okay? And told you to forgive and turn the other cheek, but they don't forgive anything. You want to test it out? Create an eminent domain law right now in Kenya and say, hey, well, we need that 45,000 acres of land with eminent domain. And you got to forgive me, though. If you're upset, forgive. Remember, forgive. The Mzungu don't forgive nothing, but he'll tell you, hey, Jesus wants you to forgive. No, 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 no. They don't follow their own white Jesus. So why should you be following it? No.
So, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with that?
Well, the younger people, and thank God, the younger people are saying this. We don't go to y'all church because we see it's fake anyway, right? Most young people don't fool the church. Listen, I believe in God wholeheartedly, but I don't go to nobody's church because I know what they do in these churches. They playing games. They just want to take people tithes and offerings. So they look the preacher, and you know about that. The preacher look like $1 million and the people are poor, right? He or she, the only one getting all the money, private jets. You in Dubai over there with the sheiks and all that on quads, but the people not getting anything. Yeah, you pay your tax. No, forget that. I keep my money in my pocket. I can pray to God on my own. I can read the Bible on my own. I don't need you. That's what I need to do, right? So if we as a black people take that money out of them churches that we put money in and actually put that money into the black communities, whether in the continent or America or wherever else, we can actually get a lot of money back and turn some things around in our community. So what we need to do is just walk away from those churches. I'm not saying walk away from God. You all believe in God, but leave those churches alone. I mean, what church do you know has done anything for you? You know a church that does something for your life?
Personally, no, but I guess some people you find that there are some church-run hospitals, church-run schools, and all that,
Mm-hmm.
where you find that maybe healthcare services are subsidized, and maybe healthcare services are subsidized, and maybe the school fees and all that. So you find some people like, I think that's what keeps some people in it.
But really, if you're taking in money, that's what you're supposed to do. And all of them are supposed to do that. Not like maybe this church or that church. All of them are supposed to be doing that if they're taking in money. And if they're not doing that, like doing hospitals and like you said, paying for school and doing whatever they're doing, then why are you going there? What is the point? You're not doing nothing for the community. That's just my thing. I believe if we would just be more aggressive about fixing our communities instead of being in that church house or worrying about what Rev got going on or focusing on white Jesus or whatever. Look, Nigeria got a huge white Jesus statue. Like, really? Y'all need to topple that thing down and go throw it in the ocean like the people in the UK did about that slave master. And they took the statue down and threw it in the water. That's when you do that big old huge statue that they have over there in Nigeria. I couldn't believe to see that big white Jesus statue they have over there.
Mhm. Apart from talking about the diaspora and development of Africa, some people have a different opinion about it because, there are those people who feel like, oh, they just want our money and all that. There are people who feel like that, even in the comment sections. The section I get to see that. But how can the diaspora help in the liberation of Africa?
I think people could help with this shift in the mind. I think if you could talk to the people enough to get them just not to like, and shout out to Virtue Grace, to get people to not look at the Mzungu and the Chinese as demigods, as how she said. If you just get that out of their minds, right? Looking at them, oh my God, a white man showed up. If you can just take that away from them and say, I don't care about him. If you literally could take that away from them, that's step number one on the continent, at least. That's step number one, because I don't know. You remember when we was at the at the hotel, and you remember that girl that was in the pool, and you remember that old nasty looking Mzungu that was trying to push up on her. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. See that right there in that interaction I saw, like I say, because she was like, oh, and I'm like, do you see how nasty this Mzungu is? Like, what are you doing? I mean, like in my opinion, she's up here and he's way down here compared to her, right? But yeah, her eyes just like, oh my, just like thought it was like a great thing. And I said, I kept looking at him and looking at her and looking at him. They didn't feel comfortable without looking at him. That's why he moved around. That's why he moved around, right? See, it's that situation right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, y'all, you are so much better than them. They coming to your country. You're not really going to theirs like that. So that has to start the process, and then loving yourself, saying, listen, I am, worth something. I am somebody. I mean, I love my community. We're going to make it great. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I just think self-love has to be there first in order to build anything. And you, like I said, once again, once you realize you don't need them to build anything or help you with anything, I think that's when the continent will turn around.
I think it's mostly an esteem kind of thing. And also the fact that, a lot of missionaries and all that are the ones who bring free goodies. And that's why maybe it's so hard when you're telling people.
Who? Missionaries?
Yeah, like the missionaries, the ones who come, they're giving you free stuff and aid. So sometimes when you try to even tell people are more focused on, wait, you're not giving me anything, but this person is giving me some money or something.
Okay. Okay. So give me an example what the missionary give them.
Like the things they do, like some people are caught, they do offer scholarships. They do offer like healthcare services and stuff like that. I mean,
okay.
That's
how much is the scholarship in US dollars?
Huh?
How much of the scholarships that they're giving them in US dollars?
Well, basically they pay your school fees. It's not much, depending on or maybe they have their own school, so you don't pay school fees.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is we should come in, we should create a school, or we should give them scholarships, and then we should teach them our ways, and then that's the way to combat the missionaries and different things like that. Because basically what you're saying is they look at them like, oh my God, because they give them help. That's basically what you're saying?
Yeah, I believe that's one of the things that we should do, like putting up schools and all this, because you see the mind has been brainwashed for a very long time. We're dealing with people whose mind have been brainwashed over years. So sometimes it's very hard to, how can I put it? Sometimes it's very hard to just tell them, for them to take the information that in the same way that it's very hard for someone who is hungry not to take that money from the politician who's later on going to steal from you or steal from the public funds.
Okay, so basically, if we went over there, and shout out to my boy, may he rest. So we create the Amun Ra Preparatory School, and we go and teach them everything that Amun Ra was teaching, and they can go for free. That's the best way to get to their mind.
Mm-hmm. I believe that. Yeah. That's one of the things that I believe that could actually work, and maybe that's for some people they might feel it is how can I put it? Some people might feel like, oh, we just want our money and all that. But I believe when you're talking about this development and all this, that's one of the things that we should actually do. So
okay. Well, that's something to learn, because you got to break that down. But at the same time, is for me, and I'm just speaking this as an old school and the way I'm thinking, the men has to also take over, because for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable that another man is coming to my country from a different place. I'm talking about not another person of my group, but a Mzungu coming in and giving my kids and giving this, giving my wife something, right? And they all excited about them and not excited about me giving something. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I believe the men is the one that needs to do all of that, what you're saying, creating the schools and teaching the right way to the children. Because if the men don't do it, then I don't know. It just, I guess coming from America, I'm going to tell you a true story. I was in Ethiopia, okay? And they had a brother that asked me for something. And for him to be asking me, it's not what he was asking me. It's not even the amount of money he was asking me for. It was the fact that, where's your pride as a man? In my mind, because I don't want to ask another man for anything. I'd rather go without than ask another man for anything. You know what I'm saying? And if I really got to ask for something, I'm like, can I do a job for you to get it? I don't want you to just give me any. Now, women asking is different for me, but a man, and I've seen that. I'm just saying, I've seen that on the continent, and I don't know why that's accepted. I'm not saying all do that, but I'm saying I don't know why that's accepted for men doing that. And maybe you could explain that to me, but I guess as my pride as a man, I can't do it. I remember when I was going through a divorce and I had lost everything. And if I didn't get this apartment, I was gonna sleep in my car. And my mom had told me at the time, well, you can come over here. I said, listen, I'll sleep in my car before I be in your house. I'm not being in your house. I did get this apartment. I was sleeping on the floor in my apartment with no table, no chairs. I had an air mattress. I didn't have a bed, right? I bought me a few plates or whatever and forks and spoons from the dollar store. And that's how I was living for a little while until I got back up off my feet from all this divorce crap that I was going through. So if I did that, I'm just saying this to myself, why can't, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to understand it because I don't know. I just have too much pride as a man to be asking other men for anything.
But what if somebody doesn't really have?
Somebody don't do what?
If someone doesn't really have, like they don't have, they are on their last.
Well, let me tell you something.
They don't have job. Maybe they just lost.
But can
their
you
job.
make a job? Okay. But it's always a way to make money. Now I will tell you this much: one group of people that I will tell you who, and I'm just saying in general. People say whatever you want to say about Nigerians, but they find a way to get money. True or not true?
True.
Okay. So if the Nigerians figure out a way to get money, whether legal or illegally, if the Nigerians figure out a way to get money, then you got to have that hustling spirit. Just as a man, you got to have that hustling spirit. I mean, listen, of course, many times you will hit rock bottom. That happens, right? But shoot, okay, I'm going to get this. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You know, what could I do? Or if I got to go over here and leave and get this money and come back. I mean, so many different things that I don't know. I've done day labor. I've done all kind of jobs when I didn't have anything. I just refused. I guess for me, I just refused. You know, just to be asking. And I could have asked and I had legitimate reason to ask, but I'm like, no, I didn't want to do it. But to me, your woman also is not going to respect you as a man when she see you doing that. You know, women respect men that provide. They respect men that, you know, hey, I can look to my man and he'll do this for me and that for me. Right. So I don't know. I guess I just the way I think, and maybe that because I come from America. And I've seen a lot of black men, you know, that move like that. So I was quite shocked when I did see that and like, whoa, you know, that's kind of different, you know. But like I said, maybe like I said, you can just explain it. Maybe explain it to me. I'm just like, so we all trying to learn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just also catching up on the comments in the screen. What do you think? What do you think is what's the role? Do you think military is very important in the liberation? Do you believe that's one of the ways that you should do is by building a strong military of Africa?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 You got to have a military. I mean, like I said before, if you don't have a military, you're going to be colonized. So you got. I mean, why do you think all these countries spend this money on military? So, um, military, healthcare, infrastructure. These are things that you have to spend money on. And I want to
Mm.
respond to one comment I saw here that said that I have an American mindset. I mean, well, I grew up in America. I'm a Black American. Of course, I have an American mindset. And it's not individualism. It's not that individualism says, I got mine, you get yours. No, I'm a firm believer of you teach a man to fish, he eat for a lifetime, not feed a man, give a man a fish and he eat for a day. I don't believe in that. I believe in, okay, I'd rather teach you how to make some money and so that way you could eat all the time. Because even in Black America, if you just give somebody something all the time, then they're not learning anything. But they say, let me teach you how to make money. That's why when people come around me long enough, I teach you how to make money. So you don't have to be looking for a job. I'd rather you create your own job as your own person. You understand? Like tigers, tigers, you doing your own thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody taught you how to basically fish, right?
Yep.
Okay. So now you fishing. Now you can eat on your own without nobody's help, right?
True.
Okay. Well, that's what you have to be. You have to be like tigers. That's what I believe in. That's not individualism. That's actually collectivism is teaching somebody else how to do it.
Okay. Okay. I still want to hear like more about the military. I don't know how can people go like how can people go about it, keeping in mind that at the moment we all buy our weapons from the West, yet the resources are got in Africa. Also, in talking about military, people, I don't think people, it's possible for people to even come up with military without their government. So it also has to take the government. But
Yeah, it's gonna take your government. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know any gun manufacturers in the continent of Africa. It'd be awesome if they would start developing weapons, but they don't have any gun manufacturers I know of. I mean, if you really wanted to be serious about military spending, you would probably have to be buying it from either Russia, because they got like things like the hypersonic missiles and things like that, or the U.S. will sell you a lot of weapons. They love to sell you some weapons. They make weapons all day in the U.S. Or I mean, yeah, the Chinese can say some things, but America's weapons are actually better, and in military is better, versus China's as of right now. So, of course, America have more aircraft carriers and all that other stuff that China don't even have yet. So, it's yeah, you're right. You would have to buy it from the West or Russia, or one of them places like that. I agree with that. But hey, at least you would build up your military though, because they would love to make the money off you.
okay, another question on the land. Do you believe that African Americans or the Africa diaspora coming back home should get the land free or should they purchase it?
And let me think. If they give it to you free, I believe you need to do something with it. I don't believe you should get some free land and just sit on it. I don't believe that. I think you should either you go create businesses on the land, maybe you're gonna build a subdivision, or even if you build a home just for yourself, do something with the land. But the land isn't so expensive where you like just can't buy land, because I had a sister on my show. Her name is Taiwu, and she so I think it's called Global African Alliance or something like that. Just I think that's the thing. And she was saying 1 hour out of Lagos, you can get an acre of land for 2,000 US dollars. That is nothing for an acre of land, right? So I don't mind paying for some land. I mean, because I don't get free land here in the United States. So why wouldn't I pay for land on the continent? You know what I'm saying? But if they want to give it to me free, I'll take it. But I don't mind paying either.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm seeing some people saying that it should actually be you should only get it free if you are actually offering something like a skill, or you building a company.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Or if anybody need free land, let a farmer come from America and say, okay, I'm a black farmer and I want some land, so I want to grow food. Okay, give him the land. Let him grow the food. That'd be good for the country. Then that's great. Give him land.
Okay. Another question. Do African Americans consider themselves Africans? Basically, do you consider yourself African first or American?
Well, in this country, they're going to call you black or African American. I mean, that's just bottom line. I mean, I know I'm a displaced African. I understand that. I mean, I was taken away from the continent. This country lets you know every day that you're black or African American. So we know that, but some people don't have a connection to the continent because they haven't been. Like I say, if the moment you go, you do get a connection. I haven't met one person that went to the continent that didn't change their life. Most people that talk like that don't have a connection to the continent, is people that haven't went for the most part. That's from my research at least. So that's why I'm a big believer. I say, listen, just go one time. Because I know if you go one time, it'll get you. I don't have to say nothing to you after that.
Oh, okay. I think that also kind of answered the next question. Why is it important for Africa diaspora to visit Africa?
I believe it's important because you need to go and see where you originally come from. I mean, every person does that. I mean, Jewish people go to Israel. These white folks go to different places in Europe. A person that's a Chinese American that was born here, they still go and see China, or these Arabs or whatever. They can be born here, but they still go back to their countries where they come from originally. I believe it's just normal to go see where you come from. And then you need to get on the African soil and get that spiritual connection when you get there. Like I said, when I got off the plane in Ethiopia, I felt different. It was so weird because it felt like I've been there before. That's how I felt. It felt like I was actually home. I never felt nothing like that. And I said, I don't feel this way in America. I was so happy, like I said, not that somebody told me anything. I just feel like, wow, I belong here. It's like I've been here. It's something that's hard to describe, and every time I'm there, I'm happy like that. I'm like, oh my God. Well, anytime I have to come back, same thing in Kenya. I was happy there. I had to come back to this place. Oh God, I got to go back to the United States like that, So that's the only thing that my experience with it.
Okay, the knowledge, since you said you are not taught a lot about the African history in school, where did you learn what you know?
Traveling in the internet.
Traveling and internet. So, do you have a book or somewhere where someone can get the information? Have you ever written a book?
No, how I research is like, okay, let's say the first country I went to is Ethiopia. So this is what I do before I travel anywhere. I go and research everything about that country. I go find out about the language, what's the weather like, what, how are the people, how they dress, let me go find out about, do they have malaria? Yes, malaria. I research the things like that. Do I need any shots to go over there? How much money do I need? I want to know about everything. I want to know about how beautiful it is. I want to know if there's any crime. I want to know where to go, where not to go. I do that no matter where I go, right? Same thing with Kenya. I didn't know nothing about Kenya. I did so much research into Kenya before I went. So I would say for any country you go to, just do your research, and there's plenty of information on YouTube, Google. You can find all the information that way.
Okay. There's a question on the screen. Do you think they will ever enact the qualified immunity for your cops, and when? If you have any question, if you have any question for Phil, go ahead, ask them. Now, if you have any question for Phil, just ask it. Hit the like button and support the stream.
Qualified immunity. That's going to be interesting to see with the cops. That's going to be interesting. I couldn't answer that question because all this stuff is changing every day. I believe as the people keep the pressure on, maybe we'll see something. But, the Republicans, they're going to be a problem with some of that. And Trump definitely don't support that, because you have to understand, if you take away the power from these cops to kill like that, because it's basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to take the power away from them to kill and get away with it. That's the thing. If you take that away from them, what good is white supremacy? Because the cops are the enforcement wing of white supremacy. They know that. That's why they can call 911 and do all the things they're doing, because they know that, well, we can possibly get you killed. So you take away the power to kill from them, like I say, we would really make a big victory, at least in that one area, if we cause them to lose that immunity, because they couldn't just kill black people like they want to and just get away with it.
Where is your group going to next?
Well, we was going to go to originally South Africa and Kenya, but Corona kind of messed that up. So I know they probably going to reschedule Kenya. I think maybe in December, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hold me to that. And South Africa kind of is up in the air. That may get postponed to next year because everything's still shut down. So
When is your audiobook coming?
Oh, my audiobook. We're working on that. Working on that actually right now. So just stay tuned.
What is it about?
Well, basically, I'm taking the book I already wrote maybe a year ago and just put it into audiobook format, the passive aggressive racism and the system of white supremacy book I had wrote. So we just putting it in audiobook format. I'm glad you reminded me because I need to find out what's the deal on that, because it should be getting wrapped up.
Okay, another question. I know there's these programs, a number of countries have these programs for returning, the African diaspora returning home. Do you think it is, I've asked you this question before, and I've seen someone asking it, do you think it's a good idea for the returning African diaspora to all be in one region or one place?
I would say go wherever your heart is. Like everybody's heart is not in Ghana, because I don't know, everybody want to go to Ghana. Like I said, that's them. If you feel Nigeria is where you belong, you feel Kenya, you feel Botswana is where you belong, go where you belong. That's what I feel. Wherever your heart say this is home for you. I don't think that everybody should be in one area. No, I just think that everybody should go just to where their heart says to go.
No, not in terms of country, not in terms of country, like countries allocating a specific piece of land, specifically just for Africa diaspora, or the ones who are returning home. Like in a country, maybe we say this area, this 1,000 acres, this 20,000 acres.
I don't agree with that, because you're basically just trying to separate. Why are you coming to the continent to separate? That's like separating yourself. Like, oh, well, we all Black Americans, we all over here, and then the rest of the continental Africans over there. Why are you separating? I mean, you're coming home to be home. In other words, mix and mingle with the people, live with the people. I mean, I'm not saying you can't live in a certain area or whatever, but be with the people. Like, why do I want to separate myself from the people? That doesn't make sense. That you're bringing America to the continent. In other words, America is built on racial division or different, whatever kind of division, right? Skin tone. Oh, you don't speak my language. Oh, you don't do this, so I'm going to divide. I don't believe we should do that. I believe we should all be together.
Talking about that, are there issues to do with colorism? Because that's one of the issues that we have here.
What did you say? You said one issue you have there. Well, oh yeah, you talking about expats?
Do you have issues to do with colorism in the US?
Colorism is an American problem, and I'm gonna say more so that's a question to talk to women about because, like I said, as a Black man, we don't deal with colorism issues like that. I mean, that's more so. Well, let me say this: it's the racist system that created colorism. It wasn't Black people at all, and I want to make sure to put that out there. It comes from slavery, and unfortunately, some of us in the community continue it as well. But I always tell people if you think it's a colorism issue, just go to the continent because there's no colorism there. Everybody's mostly dark skinned. There's none of that light skinnedness and mixed that and all the different things that people deal with, over there in the States. So
what are the three things that Africa diaspora should start doing for self-improvement?
Just in general?
Yeah, in general, like what should?
Oh, wow. Well, you definitely want to have I would say definitely have your economics, in order, because without economics, you can't do nothing. Let's call it what it is. You got to have your money in place. When you get your money, make sure you have education to know how to handle that, because you can get money all day long, but if you don't have the education how to handle it, you're going to just spend it on anything and be broke. I would say have goals set, so you can accomplish your goals, whatever that may be. That's just minimum. Create businesses. I'm a firm believer. I'm an economics guy. I just believe money is what it's going to take for us to get our act together. We're not going to get it off a wing and a prayer. When you look at the Chinese come to African nations to make money. They don't come there for no other reason. They understand that economics make the world go round. Not praying all day long, going over there with Rev and looking at a picture of white Jesus. They talking about money. Even Rev understand the church that money made the world go around. That's why he needs your tithes and offerings. So economics is key. That's for sure.
Okay, and do you believe that people should wait for reparations before making the move?
No, because if they put your coronavirus stimulus check in your bank account, without you waiting for that, then if you want to make a move, you give your information. You have a U.S. bank account, give it to the IRS like they did with the stimulus check, and then when they want to deposit anything into your account, the Treasury can deposit it in your account. You don't have to wait for anything.
Okay, and what do you think about moving to Africa? Should someone have a certain amount of money before making that move, or should they just come and start?
Well, this is what I believe, just based on me going. I think whatever country you're looking at, you need to go a few times, definitely a few times. I think you need to actually go a couple of times. Then I think you need to go get that 90-day visa and actually stay the 90 days, just from my opinion, and see if you can hang. You can stay there 90 days to see if you like it or not, right? And then if you like it and everything, you can go to the grocery store, the culture, do everything that you want to do, right? Then you can start looking more into, okay, well, now I want to, can you provide for yourself there? Because remember, you don't have welfare and food stamps on the continent. You can't, like this unemployment checks that Americans are getting right now, 1,000 US a week. You're not getting that in the African nation. It's not, you're not going to get no housing. You're not going to get none of that. So you're on your own. So you just need to bring your money when you go. That's the only thing I say.
All right. Scully, let's get the likes up. If you have questions for Phil, go ahead and ask. What can we do about getting? Okay, let me see. What can we do about getting our artifacts back in Africa and create tourism space for it in Africa, Phil?
I think that'll have to be a push from your governments to get that. But at the end of the day, these white people not gonna give nothing back. They thieves. You gotta understand. They have their museums showing the artifacts on the continent. Most people don't go to see their culture. If you think about it, nobody say, let me go to the museum to see the cavemen. Most people don't go see that, right? They want to see everybody else's culture when they go to their museum. So, I mean, good luck at making them give it back. I mean, y'all can get it back from them is possibly, I don't know. I don't see them giving it back unless they feel shame to give it back, or y'all force them to some other way, shape, or form.
All right, all right. Kindly let's get the likes up. If you have questions for Phil, go ahead and ask them. Why do we pay? Who do we pay and how often? At some point, we just make a plan and go forward. Uh, Not sure how to stop that. Okay, okay. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up. Phil, any advice that you have for someone who wants to? Okay, before then, let me ask you, which country are you looking forward to moving to?
Hmm. Yeah, I've only been to two countries so far. Like I said, I like Kenya. It was nice. Nairobi, I like Nairobi definitely a little bit more than Mombasa. Mombasa's too hot. I don't like dealing with the heat. So Nairobi definitely has some. It definitely reminds me of of an American city to a point. So it was nice. It definitely was nice, but it's on the list. But I need to see West Africa because I haven't seen West Africa yet. I haven't went to the southern part of Africa, so I don't know. My plan really is to have a place in West Africa, East Africa, and the southern part of Africa. That's my plan. I want to be in
But,
three spots.
but of course, you have something in mind, like you have a number of course, if I ask you which countries you don't want to go to or stay, you would probably point that out.
Huh. I don't want to. Well, I'm not going to none of the Arab countries. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so of course you have questions, something on mind in your mind.
Let me see. West Africa. I can't say about West Africa because I don't know. Like I haven't been to the. I need to find out who has the best infrastructure. Like I told you before, I need to see who has to. There's certain things I'm looking for. So I don't know if Nigeria has it. Which Nigeria would be a good place too. I don't know if Ghana. I don't know. It just depends. I don't know if Sierra Leone. I don't know. I can't really speak on a whole lot of things when it comes to West Africa or Southern Africa. I don't think I know really. It's East Africa, and East Africa, like I said, Nairobi would be a good place in East Africa. That's for sure. Just based off my research, Nairobi is definitely great for business.
Okay. Question on the screen. Why do white people and some other people hate us so much?
I don't know. I don't know. I tried to analyze that myself. I tried to think. I said, let me see if I can get into their minds, but it's not natural. I mean, it's really not natural because if you look at it, they lose their businesses, they lose their jobs, all of that just to have hate for black people, and they constantly keep doing it. So it is something that's in them to hate us like that. I'm not trying to figure out why. I'm just going to socially distance from them as I can, and that's that. I'm not worried about how much people hate me. That's the last thing I'm worried about is how much somebody hate me. Let's not worried about it.
What is your nonprofit about? Saw him giving truckloads of supplies during the hurricane in Texas.
Oh, I see who asking that question. Um, let's see the nonprofit. I don't even mention that too much, but we do have a nonprofit called the Unity Foundation, and that nonprofit actually, I was starting that because I wanted us to have a place where we can, rescue ourselves from different things. So yes, during the hurricane, we raised $15,000 at least at the time period to give supplies out to the people, and we done that. But that was a little bit before we start going to the continent. So as I'm hearing things like what you're saying about, hey, we need schools, we need this and that and the third, or when I'm listening at what those missionaries are doing, where we want to counteract things like that. So the focus of the foundation would be definitely global for sure than what it used to be. So you just stay tuned. I announce everything as it come along.
That's awesome. I've learned that today. I didn't know that about you. What percentage of Africa Americas have you ever seen or observed traveling to Africa in the past 3 or 4 years?
Well, I know that they were saying that I don't know about the percentage of number, but they were saying that Black Americans have spent between 42 billion on travel. overseas, and a lot of it has went to the continent, and of course went to other countries. So Black Americans are really traveling now more so than they used to. So coronavirus is really it stopped everybody's travel. So but like I said, I believe in 2021 when they pick back up, at least in the year, pick back up again. You're gonna see probably be an explosion of travel because the airlines are hurting right now.
Which African leaders do you like or you look up to?
Well, like I said, I like Julius Malema. I like him. Like I said, he's definitely a brother that speak up. I like that. He's one of my favorite on the continent. I like I say, PLO Lumumba, that brother. He's definitely, he speaks up for sure. I like that. Any brother like that, those two brothers for sure. I like. I'm trying to think of who else I could think of. Because I try to watch with certain leaders because your leader be doing good, then they pull a stunt. You're like, oh, come on, brother. Because since like the president of Ghana, he's been very open, and he's definitely, I remember he called out France and everything, and that was great. But then you see some activists speaking up, then the police in Ghana come pick you up for speaking out, and things like that I don't like, because I'm like, look, you don't silence people when they speak up. That's the only thing about some African nations I don't like, is that you don't be harassing people when they speak up. You have to watch what you say and don't talk about this leader and that leader, and like, why? I mean, as long as you're not threatening the leaders or planning insurrection or something like that, then you should have freedom of speech. But in some countries you don't have that.
Where are you from, and do you ever do like sessions training in the US of the Black folk?
Well, where am I from? As in, like a city?
Uh, not everybody on the platform really knows where you are from. There could be people, continental Africans on my channel who don't know where you
Oh,
are.
okay. Oh, well, I'm from Texas, the state of Texas. I moved to Houston about 19 years ago. Be 20 years next year. But I'm from a town called Port Arthur, Texas. It's about an hour and a half, about from where I'm at now. So yeah, Port Arthur, Texas.
Okay, why do you think why do you think there's I've seen something interesting. Why do you think African continental Africans are moving to the West as much as we're talking about, or how do you take it? The fact that continental Africans are also moving to the West while we are saying
Well, because I mean, from my research, most people doing it for economic reasons. Okay, like you said, you have people who go to college. Let's say right there in Nairobi, can't get a job. Versus if they go to the UK, if they go to the US, if they go to wherever, some of them even trying to go to China. You go in there, you get your money up, right? Then they start doing good. That's really the big issue on the continent is jobs. And so people want to leave and say, man, if I can go to the UK and get a job, then then what happens is those people send money back to Kenya and everywhere else too when they leave. So I read a figure that $200 million a month was coming into Kenya prior to the coronavirus. Some people that left Kenya to be staying in the West, they would send money back. So there's a lot of money was coming back.
Okay, someone is mentioning someone here. Nijobo is asking if he knows anything about Omoyele Showore. I don't know if you know that person. He's Nigerian activist and opposition leader. I think so.
No, I don't know them, but you send me a link. Let me check them out. I don't know.
Right, there you have it. I think at this point we are going to be concluding the stream. In case only if you have any urgent question, just 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, and we will we will be done with the stream. So I feel maybe you can just conclude, advice.
Yeah, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you can come to my channel. Like I say, African Diaspora News Channel, and get plugged in. Get plugged in. You can find a lot what's going on here in the U.S. Or we talk about different stories. That come out of the continent as well. Tigers comes over sometime and post content. One Gale, she's another person that posts content. You got Brother Douglas in Uganda. So we got people definitely from the continent, doing things on our channel. And I love that. I think that's a awesome thing. So, we are a daily news show. So we post, content for the most part daily. So you can check it out and if you're on the continent, you can find out what's going on here in the States or even different parts of the world on our channel. So, you're welcome to subscribe, and we love to have you.
Okay, I just shared that is Phil's channel on the screen. That's Phil's channel on the screen. So for those who don't know, it's one of the biggest channels. Sometimes I contribute on that platform. There are many languages dividing Africa. So here it seems to be unifying our solution. Do you think Black Americans learning Swahili can help?
I think we should, learn Swahili would be good to learn, but I know Swahili is more so in East Africa, and I know they speak it in parts of South Africa. So you definitely plan on going to East Africa, like a Tanzania, Kenya, something like that. And yeah, Swahili, would be good to learn. I mean, they don't really speak that in West Africa, but East Africa, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm also offering Swahili classes on my Patreon. So for those who are interested, you can join my Patreon, which you can always find in the description box, and you'll get to learn about Swahili.
Oh yeah, you're talking about my birthday. My birthday was yesterday, so no, I'm sorry. My birthday was 2 days ago, so yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate your time and contribution. Asante sana, and looking forward to hosting you in Kenya again, maybe after the lockdown and all that. Maybe you will be visiting again.
Yeah, I'll be back in Kenya. That's for sure. So you never know. I may be back in December. I'm thinking December. It was originally supposed to be in October, but probably December. So I'll be back. If your president open up the country back up, I'll be back.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right, Tigers. You guys have a good night.
It's morning here. It's 4:02 in the morning.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's 8:02 p.m. here.
I always my schedule is kind of crazy sometimes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.